Well, Andrew Cuomo, the Attorney General, now Democratic candidate for governor, remains the most popular elected official or politician in the state of New York. Currently, 67% of New York State voters have a favorable view of Andrew Cuomo, compared to only 21% who have an unfavorable view. And when we matched Andrew Cuomo up against his three potential Republican opponents, he has leads of better than 40 points against Rick Lazio, Steve Levy, and Carl Palladino. And a new question for Siena this month was, we asked voters among everybody from any party, who would you like to see be elected governor this year? And we gave them no choices. 43% of voters volunteered the answer, Andrew Cuomo. Tied for second with 5% each, Rudy Giuliani, David Paterson, and Carl Palladino. So even when not prompted with choices, voters overwhelmingly say they want Andrew Cuomo to be the next governor. It is, of course, still nearly 6 months from Election Day. Well, right now, Rick Lazio, the former congressman from Long Island, has a lead, an early lead over his two potential Republican opponents in the primary. Carl Palladino, Western New York businessman, comes in second with 16%, and Steve Levy, the Democrat turned Republican county executive in Suffolk County, is pulling up the rear with 14%. However, all three of these candidates are largely unknown, particularly Levy and Palladino, to most of the Republican voters in this state. So it's real early in this match. We're about 4 months from primary day, and a lot can happen in that race between now and then. Right now, Senator Gillibrand is enjoying her strongest month ever in a Siena poll. Currently, 42% of voters have a favorable view of Kirsten Gillibrand, her highest number ever in a Siena poll. 24% have an unfavorable view, and still about a third of voters don't know enough about the junior senator to have an opinion one way or the other. When we match Kirsten Gillibrand up against the three Republicans who want to take her on this fall, Joe DeAguardi, the former Republican congressman from Westchester County, Bruce Blakeman, the former Republican legislative leader of Nassau County, and David Malpass, Kirsten Gillibrand has a lead of at least 26 points over each of the three. And for the first time, Gillibrand is over that magic 50. So she starts this race in a very strong position compared to her three Republican opponents. Chuck Schumer is second in popularity in New York, only behind Andrew Cuomo. He's very strong with voters right now. 64% of voters have a favorable view of Chuck Schumer, compared to 27% who have an unfavorable view. Right now, the Republicans have 4 potential candidates to run against him. All of them are unknown to nearly 9 in 10 voters in New York. So when we match Schumer up against any of those 4, Schumer has a commanding 45-plus point lead over each of them. Well, the AG race is the place where the Democrats are likely to have a very contentious primary. Right now, there are 5 Democratic candidates in that race. None of them are particularly well known. All of them are unknown, in fact, to 3/4 or more of the voters of this state. But the early favorite at the moment is Kathleen Rice, the district attorney from Nassau County. She leads the Democratic primary field with 21% of the vote. State Senator Eric Schneiderman is second with 9%. Assemblyman Richard Brodsky comes in third with 5%. And Sean Coffey and Eric Dinalo, two currently unelected officials who are seeking the nomination, they are also in the single digits. Republican District Attorney from Staten Island, Dan Donovan, appears to be the Republican candidate. And right now, when any of those 5 Democrats are matched up against Donovan, the Democrat has a small lead, single digits, with the exception of Kathleen Rice. If it's a battle of the 2 district attorneys, right now, Rice has an 18-point lead over Donovan. But a lot of voters are very undecided on that race because it's so early, and all of them are virtually unknown to most voters. Well, Governor Paterson has put forward a plan to furlough state workers 1 day a week to try and save $30 million a week because the state budget is late and because there's a $9.5 billion deficit in the state budget. We asked voters if they agreed with the governor's furlough plan, which has been put on hold temporarily, at least right now, by a federal judge, whether they supported it or opposed it. And New York voters are split down the middle. 47% of voters support the governor's furlough plan compared to 49% who oppose it. While a plurality of voters, 25%, blame Governor David Paterson for the late state budget, but there is blame to go around with all the folks in Albany as far as the voters are concerned. 15% blame the Democrats who control the state Senate. 14% blame the Republicans who are in the minority in both the Senate and the Assembly. Another 9% blame the Democrats who control the Assembly, and the rest say either everybody or they're undecided. New Yorkers are very pessimistic about the direction of the state right now. In fact, it's at a record low in Siena College polling. Only 16% of voters think the state is headed on the right track. A record 72% say the state is headed in the wrong direction. When you have nearly 3/4 of voters saying the state is headed in the wrong direction, that is a serious problem showing how badly voters think Albany is doing.